Start? More.
Yes.
So we will start at 03.
Okay.
Do you want to start now?
Yes, I think we have enough
Okay.
participants.
So good afternoon, Shalom Lekolam. We are now continuing our department seminar at the Bar-Ilan University. And today we are really honored to host Viktória Bányai and Rita Horváth, two researchers from Hungary, Budapest. Rita Horváth is a literary scholar and historian who received her PhD from Bar-Ilan University, so welcome back. She has been a member of the Academic Advisory Committee of the Hadassah Brandeis Institute at the Brandeis University since 2010. Her fields of research include the history of the Holocaust in Hungary, Holocaust literature, trauma, and literary theory. She was a research fellow at, among others, the International Institute for Holocaust Research at Yad Vashem, the Vienna Wiesenthal Institute for Holocaust Studies, and the Hadassah Brandeis Institute. She has taught at the McDaniel College in Budapest, at the Bar-Ilan University, and Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest. Her publications include, among others, Young Witnesses in the DP Camps with Boaz Cohen in Journal of Modern Jewish Studies. Viktória Bányai is a senior research fellow in the Institute for Minority Studies at the Center for Social Sciences and an assistant professor in the Hebrew Studies Department, Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest. Her research field is Hungarian Jewish history and culture in the modern times. She has co-authored the book Jewish Budapest, Monuments, Rights, History, and her current project, from which she has published several articles, examines the experiences of Jewish children in the immediate post-war period Hungary. And today they will talk about the testimonial drawings of survivor children in a Budapest Jewish school. So without further ado, please, Rita, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present our ongoing research, and please feel free to ask any questions even while we are presenting. And of course, afterwards also we would be very grateful to any feedback. In this presentation, we will focus on 26 drawings that were created by 13 and 14-year-old pupils of the high school for girls of the Neolog Jewish community of Pest in the late spring and early summer of 1945, that is, in the immediate aftermath of the Holocaust. The girls' drawing teacher, Klára Kertai, kept drawings. Her son, Iván Kertai, donated the drawings to the Holocaust Memorial Center in Budapest in 2023. A number of the drawings had been already made available to the public by Klára Kertai herself, and some of them were published in the 1990s as illustrations for commemorative journal articles about the Holocaust. However, up until our project, no one has researched and analyzed the drawings. We aimed at changing the drawing status from being mere picturesque illustrations to serious sources of research. Even though there exist several sources featuring drawings that were created by adolescents in the immediate aftermath of the liberation, such as diaries, the source group analyzed here is extraordinary in Hungary. The fact that they were created as fulfillments of formal class requirements within the educational context of a school allows us to analyze the 26 drawings together as a group. Not only do the youngsters constitute a homogeneous group in terms of gender, age, and religion, but according to the school register, they all lived in Budapest before 1944. Therefore, the events which they had experienced during the period of the persecutions also had similarities. Pest was liberated by the Red Army on the 18th of January 1945, and the entire capital was liberated on the 13th of February. According to the survey of the World Jewish Congress in 1946, there lived 15,457 Jewish children under the age of 16 in Hungary. 4,400. Yes. Can I continue?
Yes, sure. Just unmute. I muted the. Yes, sure. Please continue.
Sorry. 4,428 of them lived in the provinces, and 11,029 children lived in Budapest. 5 years earlier, about 8 times more children lived in the provinces, and more than double of the number of children had lived in Budapest. More Jewish children survived in Budapest than in the provinces of Hungary, because the Jews from the 2 ghettos of Budapest were eventually not deported, in contrast to the Jews from the Hungarian provinces, the overwhelming majority of whom had been deported to Auschwitz. The Jews of Budapest lived through being concentrated into yellow star houses or Jewish houses, and later into the 2 ghettos. The reign of terror during the Aerocross era, the Hungarian Nazis, which entailed the mass murders of Jews on the streets and at the Danube side, as well as the deportations on foot, the so-called death marches towards the inner parts of the Third Reich. The girls depicted in detail the most terrifying and characteristic scenes of the Holocaust in Budapest. The marches from the Yellow Star houses to the large ghetto, the marches towards the Danube side to be shot or to be deported from the deportation centers, such as the Tatars. They drew the Aerocross headquarters, where Jews were tortured before being murdered, and the siege of Budapest, in the midst of which these horrors took place. As an example, let's view Eva Vidor's drawing. It shows an emblematic scene about which many stories circulated during and after the reign of terror of the Aerocross thugs. The murdering of a Jew who had already been shot into the icy water of the Danube, survived, climbed out, only to be shot dead by an Aerocross thug before he could have reached any place of safety. Thus, the child survivor drew a survivor who had not survived in the end. Already, this drawing shows an important feature of most of the drawings. In addition to the images and usually a title, there are explanatory notes on the drawings. Here, the text confirms that the Jew is the protagonist. And I'm quoting, "The Jew who had swum out of the Danube and whom the Aerocross man shot dead." End of quote. Look how clearly Eva drew the distinguishing mark of the Aerocross. We can see an Aerocross armband on this photo on the left side, on the right side. And on the left side, there is a photo of a woman wearing the distinguishing mark of on her outer clothes, the Finch Yellow Star of David. In Eva's drawing, the distinguishing mark of the Aerocross murderer is juxtaposed by the lack of the usual distinguishing mark of the Jew, the Yellow Star of David. The Jew's identity is only marked by being soaked in icy water, as he had to lay down his coat with the Yellow Star on it before being shot into the Danube. On the other side of the drawing, the headquarters of the Aerocross party in the 5th district of Budapest is depicted with Jews locked up in the basement to be tortured and murdered. It is characteristic of the drawings in general that they displayed the distinguishing marks very quickly. Just look at the red stars on the wings of the Soviet bomber. The drawings at the time served 2 purposes. On the one hand, they could have helped the children to process their traumas, and the other hand, they documented the event of the recent past. The young teacher, Clara Kertai, whose pre-war publications demonstrated that she was Pardon?
I muted him. Sorry, you can continue. Please continue.
No, I just don't see anything, so that's why you have to tell me to stop or to continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry to disturb. I will mute everybody and ask you to unmute yourself, and then we have no more interruption. Okay?
Rita, please unmute yourself because we can't hear you.
I wasn't muted until now, was I?
Now we hear you well, so please.
Okay, thank you. So, Clara Kertai, whose pre-war publications demonstrated that she was well-versed in art therapy, probably primarily aimed at helping her traumatized students by giving them this task. However, the fact that she kept some of the drawings shows that she considered them valuable and important as documents as well. From the drawings themselves, we can conclude that the children also took the role of a witness very seriously. They depicted the events of the recent past they had chosen to record in detail, in great detail, and with surprising accuracy. For example, Erzsébet Armut found it important to record the exact place and title of the first theater production of one of the most important theater companies of Budapest, Vígszínház, after the liberation. The name of the former movie theater, Radius, is written on the building the same way as the Aerocross headquarters of the 5th district was identified on the previous drawing. The title of the play is written on the placard on the wall. Maxim Gorky's The Lower Decks. The high school for girls could start the 1944-45 school year only in March 1945. The school year was very short, as it ended already on the 6th of July, 45. The yearbook formulated it as follows, and I am quoting, during that not quite 4 months, we had only processed the material that were important and relevant for moving forward. End of quote. In addition to that, many students joined later, recovering from illnesses or staying in the countryside as part of relief efforts. Those who went to school for less than 3 months or did not attend school at all could take grade assigning exams in mid-July in order to avoid losing an entire school year. From 1940, Clara Kertai taught drawing and needlework at the High School for Girls of the Neolog Jewish Community of Pest, where she herself had graduated in 1931. During the short school year, she taught 4 classes. The 26 drawings were created in these 4 classes as compulsory school assignments, since grades had to be obtained in the short school year as well. Most of the girls had been born in 1932, meaning that they were about 13 years old in the immediate aftermath of the Holocaust, and some of them also graduated from this school. The number of girls who earned year-concluding grades indicates that more than 100 girls studied in the 4 classes taught by Clara Kertai. Therefore, it is logical to conclude that she chose the drawings for keeping. Unfortunately, we do not know her criteria for the selection, as we do not know the drawings which were not chosen. Still, we can rule out one fact as a criterion: the drawing talent of the students. In that school year, one could only receive 3 types of passing grades, 1, 2, and 3, with 1 being the best. About half of the children whose drawings the teacher kept received 1 for drawing at the end of the year, but many received 2 and some of them even 3. The girls themselves wrote the date on 12 drawings, indicating that they created them at the end of May and the beginning of June. The pupils drew the majority of the drawings on the same day in each class, most probably according to their timetables. In addition to the dated drawings, there are 2 undated ones depicting the 1st of May parade, so the May 1st parade, so these could not have been drawn earlier. On the drawings, which the students themselves dated, in the upper right-hand corner, the girls wrote down the number of their class and also wrote page 1. These formal elements suggest that the drawings could have been a part of the portfolio put together for receiving their end-of-year grade. The drawings feature memories of war and persecution, as well as experiencing of the present, their present, focused on a life returning to an increasing degree of normalcy. The majority of the drawings have titles. In total, 12 drawings depict the past, 10 depict the present, to which, of course, the past assigns part of its meaning, and 4 works show the past and the present side by side as structurally juxtaposed. The juxtaposition is emphasized either by the title, such as the past and the present, or by comments such as it was like this and it was like that. Indeed, the juxtaposition itself interprets these works so thoroughly that in all 4 drawings, words are added to underline the parallel structures of the visual depiction. The parallel structure by itself creates a mini narrative that could be interpreted as hope. By contrast, some of the drawings depicting the present, such as Agnes Galgóci's "The electric lights are on again," include elements from the past, implying that the bright future, even if it appears to be peaceful and optimistic, as evidenced and symbolized by lights, it is in reality problematic and poisoned by traumatic memories as well as the consequences of the past. Agnes implies these traumatic notions through a joke. Under the title, she wrote in parentheses, also in not in ink, but where is the gas? Obviously alluding to the gas chambers. Based mainly on the drawings themselves, we can guess how the teacher's instructions influence the choices concerning the subject matter, as well as the design of the drawings. It is most probable that the teacher suggested the format of either drawing a scene from the past or depicting the present, or drawing two scenes side by side, one describing the past and one the present. The formal attributes, date, title, name, uniform identification of class, and the layout of the drawings constantly reminds us that of the fact that the drawings were created in school during a lesson. Some of the drawings emphatically employ elements of technical drawings, and there are powerful perspective representations of buildings as well as certain objects. These are skills that are learned, practiced, and expected in drawing classes. The staircase in Eva Holstein's drawing entitled Air Raid is a fascinating example of this. Moreover, this drawing utilizes a very sophisticated technique of representation that in cinematography is called the Dutch angle or canted camera, which provokes discomfort and disorientation in the viewer in order to convey the utter terror of air raids. Eva depicted the long staircase leading down to the air raid shelter and the shelter's benches in a tilted fashion. The horizon line is not parallel with the bottom of the drawing. As in the case of school assignments, under usual circumstances, we even encounter copying. Seeing Borbála Godinger's and Marianne Prince's drawings together, it is clear that Marianne copied from her classmates' drawing, producing a simpler black and white version of Borbála's complex and colored work. In the special case of assignments concerning the children's at once collective and personal traumas, we have reason to believe that the copying happened not because there were children who escaped the recent historical catastrophe unsketched. It happened because some survivors could not deal with their agonizing. It probably happened because some survivors could not deal with their agonizing and re-traumatizing memories then and there. Pupils therefore might have copied in order to complete the assignment, as is necessary in school, but not to let the past resurface or flood them. We have encountered a similar case of copying in class in the school of the Ashau displaced persons camp in 1940. Girls drawing what happens them when trauma resurfaces. Agnes Blumenthal, for example, drew twice the same extremely traumatic scene from the past. How Arrow Crossmen herded a group of Jews to massacre them. The creator of the drawing became trapped in the traumatic repetition in a very literal sense. She divided the page into two, the same way as the drawings depicting the past and the present in a parallel manner. She also placed the title, The Reign of the Arrow Cross Party, on the left side of the drawing, again, similarly to the drawings depicting the past and the present side by side. However, she could not switch over to the present. Instead, she repeated the same topic. Arrow Cross thugs herd Jews to murder them. In fact, in the first drawing, a Jew had already been shot by one of the Arrow Cross thugs. In addition, the second drawing depicts the extreme cold together together with the world's utter indifference to the fate of the Jews. The two sides end up depicting day and night with the same horrors. When the trauma resurfaces so clearly, no binary opposition like past and present can create an encoded positive mini-narrative. Only the cruelty of the Arrow Crossmen and the suffering of the victims exists in a continued and timeless present that is the past. It is especially painful to see that both groups of victims, the second group is additionally tortured by the bitter cold, include little girls, like the author of the drawing herself. It is especially informative to consider issues of gender in the case of these drawings, created by girls in an emphatically female setting. In the fall and winter of 1944, the fathers of the Jewish girls in Budapest, if the fathers were still alive at all, were taken away as forced laborers, and even some of the working-age women, that is, the mothers, were taken away. Thus, mainly children, women, the elderly, and the disabled people became the victims of the persecutions in Budapest. It is therefore understandable that the majority of the drawings feature children as well as women. However, it is important to note that the creators of the drawings noticed women and children not only among the victims, but also among the perpetrators and the bystanders. They depicted them sensitively. This special perspective of the girls led to the documenting of details about which we do not have any other visual sources, and which had thus also been invisible to historical memory for a long time. Gender receives an unusual stress in Zsuzsanna Svéd's drawing entitled aerocross tugs are taking us. The distinguishing marks are emphasized on the clothing of the 6 marching figures. The 3 Jewish women carrying their luggage, one of them, who is in the center of the drawing, is a teenage girl, have a yellow star on their clothes, while the 2 women are identified by their armbands, one of them by her aerocross armband and the other by her Skull Legion armband. The only male in the picture who herds the marching women from behind carries a gun and can also be clearly identified as an aerocross man by his carefully depicted armband. He is at the top of the power hierarchy here. Thus, the unequal power relationship between the aerocross women and the men has also found its way into Zsuzsanna's picture, even though the drawing clearly focuses on the utter powerlessness of the 3 Jewish women. According to Andrea Pető, who has researched the topic of aerocross women in depth, improving their relative power position is one of the possible explanations for the participation of women in large numbers in the aerocross movement. Look at this photo and pay attention to the little girl in the middle. Noemi Krause's drawing, entitled October 16, also depicts a procession of Jews herded by armed aerocross men. The title designates the day following the aerocross takeover. The group of Jews, clearly marked by their yellow stars, consists of women, children, and old as well as disabled people. One of them is clearly depicted as needing a crutch to walk. A little Jewish girl marching in the group is at the center of the drawing. Again, Naomi did something remarkable. In addition to showing the perpetrators and their victims, she broadened the perspective of the picture, including also bystanders and probably a rescuer. We see people on the street and others are watching from the open windows of the houses. From among the numerous people surrounding the victims and the perpetrators, 4 figures are elaborated on and highlighted with colors. A woman walks alongside the marching Jews without even looking at the procession. 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl, actively, with well-recognizable childish gestures, mock and taunt the Jews. The 4th figure is a woman approaching the procession purposefully from the background. She hurries towards the march and she is on a collision course with it. Her position in the picture and her uniform with an armband and a headdress suggests that she is or claims to be a Red Cross nurse who rushes to rescue the Jews. We can identify the red color on her armband. This visual representation of a probably and at least partially successful rescue attempt makes this testimonial drawing truly unique. See the bystanders in this photo, especially the boy watching the young man hurrying along the procession of Jews, not even looking at them. It is also illuminating to see Naomi's October 16 in the context of another drawing depicting a post-liberation scene. Eva Repper's a group of children at the May Day parade. Both drawings portray marches. Numerous girls depicted marches, all sorts of marches. All these marches went on both during the Holocaust and after the Holocaust. All these marches went on in the public space, spectacles, visible for everybody, emblematic. The happily marching girls and young women in the May Day parade in emphatically beautiful clothes, wearing elegant hairstyles, are truly striking if we compare them to the marches during the Holocaust. It suddenly becomes obvious, which should be, of course, natural, that no one wears a stigmatizing distinctive sign. The colorful whirlwind of the red flags promises to overcome this. From this perspective, the conscious showing of all the possible hair colors gains meaning. Blonde, brown, red, and black-haired girls are marching together, moving in the same direction. Noémie's drawing is special precisely in that in addition to those in the procession, victims and perpetrators, it also depicts outsiders, in other words, bystanders. The mocking child, the elegant woman turning away from the procession, the woman hurrying towards the procession, perhaps with the intention of helping, as well as those watching from the windows. By contrast, in the depiction of the May Day parade, there are no outsiders, no isolating shame, and no bowed heads, no backs bent in despair, and no vulnerability. The drawings depicting scenes after liberation are strikingly different from the ones describing scenes of the Holocaust and the siege of Budapest. The fashionable clothes and elegant hairstyle of the portrayed women and girls shown in the style of fashion magazines and drawings. It radiates from the pictures that both wearing and drawing beautiful clothes and hair are sources of a pleasure that belongs to free and optimistic times. At the same time, the depiction of the clothes this way also represented the curriculum of the high school for girls. In drawing classes, the girls also learned material pattern design, and in needlework classes, which was also taught by Klára Kertai, the girls learned pattern making and the basic steps of sewing and tailoring. Also, Marianna Fire, whose drawing features a beautiful light blue dress drawn with care, associated the memory of dress-up cardboard paper dolls to the carefully crafted display of women's clothes on the pictures. In Viktória Bányai's interview with her, Marianna remembered how much they had played paper doll dress-up, for which they designed, drew, and cut out clothes from paper. There is only one drawing, that of Eva Gasztonyi, a talented artist, in which fashion rendered in detail is from the time before the liberation. Eva portrays female victims who are just about to be sent on a death march from Budapest with fashionable clothes and hair. In the drawing entitled Night Robbery, the terror is emphatically gendered. Young male Aerocross thugs terrorize young, elegantly dressed women and the girl. However, this drawing of elegant clothes still differs from the happily colorful dresses of post-liberation times, as it is black and white, which goes well with the title of the drawing. It happens in the dark. Maria Fichmann is the only one who might have depicted violence against women occurring after the liberation. The 14-year-old girl entitled her drawing Russians on the Streets of Pest. The title is descriptive and seemingly objective. Strangely, it does not convey any emotion, positive or negative. This feature becomes more pronounced if we compare Maria's drawing with that of Vera Halmos, entitled After Liberation, in which a little girl happily gives a bucket of flowers to a liberating Russian soldier. As opposed to the clarity, the clear, grateful joy of Vera's drawing, Maria's seem to be deliberately ambiguous. The ambiguity of the drawing is encoded into the sharp contrast between the rendering of the two Russian soldiers and the woman on the other side of the picture. As a result, the drawing becomes disturbingly unbalanced. The details concerning the soldiers are sharply depicted, involving strong colors and contours, while the woman and the street are rendered in a surreal way. The uniforms of the two Soviet soldiers are drawn with distinct lines, and they are rich in detail, from the red star on their caps down to the red side stripes of the pants tucked into their boots. Both of the soldiers have their guns on their shoulders. However, the street, the broken windows, the winter light, and the female figure with her legs spread are drawn from a strange perspective, as pale, somehow floating, and less contoured. The drawing of the woman's clothes are also unique. It does not fit the already described pattern. The drawing's ambiguity seems to convey the shocking double role that the Red Army soldiers played in the life of Jewish women. They were liberators. They saved the life of each and every Jew in Budapest and in Hungary, but they also raped and killed many women, including Jews. Moreover, this drawing seems to thematize the very undepictability of a scene featuring liberators as perpetrators. The drawing can be understood in two ways. It is either the depiction of a happy scene in which a woman greets the liberators by waving her handkerchief, or it is a picture showing a raped woman who still clutches the handkerchief which she had used to show her gratitude to the liberators. Klára Kertai herself sees only the first possibility and lists the drawing among the happy ones. Recent literature dealing with the history of sexual violence in Hungary during and after the Second World War makes it clear that due to the mass nature of the phenomenon, the topic was present in contemporary communication. The social importance and clear recognition of the magnitude of the phenomenon is demonstrated by the fact that the ban on abortion was suspended in Budapest and also in other cities of the country. This wide awareness, however, did not mean that this experience could have been discussed openly either in the family or at school. Maria's drawing, though, seems to convey an additional taboo concerning this subject in a Jewish environment. We will show another pair of drawings that is worth considering together. Eva Ráci's a halutza, who is guarding a sleeping colony, and Eva Deutsch's the guarding of a Jewish house. The drawing, entitled A Halutza Who is Guarding a Sleeping Colony of Halutzim, is about one of the moshavot that the various Zionist youth movements organized from the end of the winter 1945 onwards. On the basis of the girl's uniform, it is a moshava of one of the leftist movements, either Hashomer Hatzair, Dror, or Habonim. These organizations and Hanoar Hatzioni, Maccabi Hatzair, and Bnei Akiva from the end of February, beginning of April 1945, organized camps for the youth and children, homes, and agricultural as well as industrial hakshorot in preparation for Aliyah. At first glance, the drawing is only about the present and the future. However, if we examine it in the context of the other drawings, we find that it turns the traumatic experiences of the Holocaust into their opposite in several ways, thereby also displaying them and testifying about them. We compare it to Eva Ráci's drawing made on the same day, the guarding of a Jewish house. The drawings of Eva Ráci and Eva Deutsch can be contrasted to each other in all of their details, both visually and conceptually. They are diametrical opposites of one another. In both compositions, we can see a house and a person standing guard. Eva Deutsch drew a scene from the period of arrow cross rule. In the black and white picture, only the distinguishing marks that are outside are colored, focusing our attention on the yellow star marking the so-called Jewish house, or yellow star house, as well as the green shirt and cap of the armed guard. The young arrow-crossed thug stands with his hands in his pockets, smoking a pipe with his back to the house, and the horrifying events taking place inside of the pub on the ground floor of the house. In fact, he is ensuring that the events could unfold undisturbed. Inside, a shouting man forces at gunpoint a Jewish woman whose hands are raised in submission and marked by the yellow star of David to serve him. In addition, someone is speaking out of one of the upstairs windows almost imperceptibly. The entire house is controlled by fear and complete vulnerability. By contrast, Eva Ratz's drawing, a confident young Jewish girl controls the situation. The reversal of gender roles in and of itself indicates a tradition, indicates a radical turn of events. Instead of the stigmatizing yellow star of David marking a house, there is a Zionist flag at the center of the drawing, and the Zionist badge replaces the yellow star on the girl's clothes. We perceive the house as quiet and peaceful. To contrast the times of the persecutions and the times of the liberation, Eva Ratz drew colorful curtains on the window of the house. In the drawings depicting the past, if we see curtains, they are never colored, and the windows typically are either closed or broken. The colorful curtains and the pretty hairstyle, complete with colored bows, are drawn with visible pleasure. This joy of life indicated by these details belong entirely to the times of liberation. The titles given to the two drawings, a halutza guarding a sleeping colony and the guarding of a Jewish house, can also be juxtaposed. The word guard carries such different meanings. In the first case, the guard protects a group of resting Jews, whereas in the other picture, the armed arrow-crossed thug guards the Jews in order for them not to be able to escape their terrifying fate, humiliation, torture, and death. The present participle guarding in the title a halutza, guarding a sleeping colony, simultaneously characterizes the girl as an adjective and retains the activity of a verb, whereas the gerund in the other title, which is a noun, is impersonal and passive. It conveys the vulnerable passivity of the Jewish victims from an outside perspective. In order to be able to start a new life, survivors needed to have closure with assurances that the past would not repeat itself. The majority of the drawings featuring the post-liberation era contain one of the following three possibilities: to end the past in a way that would make future viable. One such possibility was the fundamental restoration of justice through the punishment of the perpetrators, while the other two possibilities were ideological in their nature, Zionism and communism. Punishing the perpetrators was an important part of post-liberation reality. Two drawings are about the hanging of war criminals. Both images emphasize that the tables had been turned, and now the former merciless murderers are the ones who are completely vulnerable, receiving the ultimate punishment. Even though the situation is reversed, which introduced some kind of a balance into the drawings, the fact that the murderers were guilty and their victims were innocent gives the pictures ultimately unbalanced. Ruja Feldham drew her picture according to the assigned task. The past is on one side of the drawing, an arrow cross tag shoots a Jew. The murdered Jew is represented symbolically by the yellow star. This way, of course, the victim is not only a specific individual, but the representative of all of the Jews. It also allows the creator to take some distance from the traumatic subject matter of the drawing. Moreover, this way, the drawing could focus completely on the arrow cross tag. The present is characterized by the hanging arrow cross man, advertising the crucial notion that all the murderers would be punished. This message is emphasized by a short mocking rhyme written next to the hanging perpetrator. And I'm quoting, "Gallows are standing densely outside in the square. 34 arrow cross men are hanging on them." It rhymes in Hungarian. I couldn't translate it with rhyme. The writings on the two halves of the drawing, that is how it was and that is how it is, aim to show a now established balance, emphasizing punishment and a complete reversal of the situation. However, the three dots indicate incompleteness. The silence indicated by the three dots, that is the silence of the trauma, witnessing, and survival, belong to both eras, that of the persecution and of its aftermath. This unbalanced balance between past and present is also encoded into the fact that on the side representing the past, everything weighs down, including the position of the text. By contrast, the writing that is how it is at a more elevated place on the page, and on the side representing the present, everything is directed upwards. At the same time, the arrow cross man is larger on the side of the past, dominating it, while on the other side, the hanging figure is significantly smaller. These symbolic details of the drawing, however, are balanced by the realistic rendering down to the fact that the base of the gallows is on the level of the shoes of the arrow cross tag, shooting the symbolized Jews. The drawing youngsters trusted the two uncompromising ideologies, either Zionism or communism, or both, to make the past impossible to repeat. Zionism is the main future-oriented ideological message in the above shown a Halutza who is guarding a sleeping colony of Halutzim, and girls dancing the hora. The communist ideology, rendering the promise of a new beginning, informs many drawings. Erika Tau's drawing also emphasizes the irreversible change of ideology. She depicted twice the same building sporting a different flag. Like many of the other youngsters, she did not trust the visual cues alone and therefore wrote above the two buildings. In 1944, is the headquarters of the Arrow Cross Party, and in 1945, Hungarian Communist Party. We know examples of exactly this kind of role change in Budapest. The fact that Erika later worked in the county court of Pest demonstrates that she was especially sensitive to the issues of justice. Since the Communist Party could only operate illegally before 1945, it did not have any buildings. Therefore, it was practical for it to use the infrastructure of the recently banned Aerocross party. However, the drawing also captures just a moment. The drawing also captures a deeper reality, as it was a characteristic experience of the surviving Jews that many former Aerocross party members joined the Communist Party, which was advocating for fundamental social change. Their presence then raised painful doubts for the Jews about the trustworthiness of the changes. The drawings not only record exact details, they also incorporate layers of interpretations, mainly through the inclusion and creation of symbols. Understanding at some levels the fact that one wants to report is necessary in order to be able to report them at all. But at the same time, recounting the facts is a prerequisite for understanding them. Therefore, as a consequence of this paradox, a complex process takes place during the testifying, including the recording of both remembered facts and processes of assigning meaning to them. The complex dynamics between the exact details and the interpretations featured in the pictures materialize in the use and or creations of symbols. Vera Rosenfeld's work is, for example, highly abstract and symbolic. She condensed the description of the past and the present in one symbolic and abstract drawing consisting of two symbols. The red star that almost completely covers the yellow star, representing the past, symbolizing the present, radiates optimism, but also warns that the traumas of the past cannot completely disappear, since the yellow star cannot be completely covered up, erased by the new symbol. This symbol condensation, making up the drawing, can also be seen as a kind of a response to the Hungarist Nazi propaganda placards that had been widespread on the streets of Budapest during the Aerocross era. Its message was that the Jewry and the Soviets signifies the death of Hungary. On the placard, the hammer and sickle symbol and the Star of David had been equated. Anna Bloom's "The Tram is Running" demonstrates clearly one of the central features of testimonial works, symbol creation. The drawing is an exact rendering of the number 44 tram, exuding the precision of an engineer. And indeed, we know that the girl who created the drawing grew up to be an engineer, and at the time of the drawing's creation, she lived near Tököli Avenue, where the number 44 tram ran. Therefore, the number of the tram is a fact. However, Anna renders it not merely as a fact, but also as a symbol of the traumas experienced in 1944. We know that she employed the number as a symbol because she wrote the numbers 1945 and 1946 on the side of the cars in a way that surrounds the central number of 44. The number of the tram is not written on the side of the cars, and even though 4-digit numbers are written there as the number of the cars, it is highly unlikely that the numbers 1945 and 1946 are accurate in this case. These numbers are there to show that the author of the drawing is acutely aware of the fact and making the audience aware of it, that the number 44 is simultaneously an accurate fact and a symbol. The fictional numbers of 1945 and 1946 are there to interpret the number 44, to provide a historical context for it. The traumatized vision of the creator of the drawing is encoded in the central position of the number 44. In post-war Hungarian culture, the yellow tram cars were widely seen as prominent symbols of the revival of the capital of Hungary. Anna not only draws upon this widely known symbol, but also asserts that revival is problematic. The traumas of the year 1944 are and remain central, and thus revival is difficult and has its limits. The creator of the testimonial drawing therefore records facts and also interpreted them by viewing some of them as symbols. Moreover, she managed to record an additional process central to the vision of traumatized people, the nightmarish process during which a piece of reality turns in a moment into a meaningful, threatening symbol, a sign of danger for a psyche that experienced massive long-term social historical traumatization. Trauma manifests itself regularly by the sudden experiencing of the fact that one's surrounding having a special meaning, of being a symbol and transporting the traumatized consciousness back into the time of the trauma. Thank you very much. That was it.
Thank you very much, Rita. It was a fascinating presentation and very rich material. So now I will open the floor for questions and comments. So first I have a question in the chat from Eva Frajmovic. We know the building. It's now the House of Terror Museum, isn't it? I think it's related to the, I don't remember name of the, where there is the same building with different flags. So I don't know, is it the House of the Terror Museum today?
No.
Do you have any? No.
No, it's another building, but almost the same history of that building. Yeah, it's true.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments? If not, I have some questions. I will start the first. The first one is related to the afterlife of these students. So if I understood correctly, you managed to contact some of them. So how many of the students, it was possible to conduct an interview with them? I remember there was one or two of them.
Only two of them. Yeah, we start our research too late, I should say.
Yes.
Because we started just after that these drawings were donated to the museum.
Mm-hmm.
It was too late.
Yeah, it was late, but maybe because the main topic was Harutzim, maybe some of the students were made Aliyah.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, we know the history or the story of the life, some of them, but we could interview just two of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I see. And the other question is related to the tree. I noticed that many of the drawings, there is a tree in the middle or at the side, and usually it seems to me that there's also a symbolic meaning. For example, at the drawing of the halutza, there is a tree with yellow spots, maybe fruits, or because June. And other drawing there was in the middle, that's below the tree with red spots related to the sign of the arrow cross. So I don't know if you also analyze the role of these trees in drawing.
Not yet, but definitely they are symbolic, and on the picture with the halutza, it's that those are it's also a symbol of spring, and again it's a symbol of spring, a new beginning, but it actually takes place in spring. So again, it's a case where the fact and the symbol help each other to establish themselves.
Yes. So do we have any other questions or comments from the audience? Yes. Eva, please, I will, now you can ask your question, please, Eva. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for this fascinating, well, discovery, certainly for me, discovery.
I can't hear anything.
Eva, we can't hear you.
That after the liberation of
Eva, maybe you can write us your question so I can read it.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, because
they were asked to write an assignment, a written assignment called The Worst Day of My Life. And this was not a Jewish school, so I'm just wondering whether you've done any comparison with, other schools. Obviously, for the Jewish kids, it was different. This is not comparable. But the war experience in some other places also affected other children, whether there were other similar school assignments that you know of.
Vicky, can I start answering?
Sure, yes.
No, there are many, mostly compositions written with such titles you just mentioned, or titles, How I Survived the War, and in the DP camps, many schools made sure that the students wrote such compositions as testimonies, and the historical commissions collected them, and many of these compositions now in Yad Vashem. So there are testimonial compositions, and also many later given testimonies mention that they wrote compositions earlier, that was part of the school experience, especially in the displaced persons camps. But we still need a lot of research.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? No. If not, thank you again. We are looking forward for the publication of this very rich and interesting material. And next week, the same day, same time, we will have a presentation by Yehudit about the Michel Lejar art pieces and the collection of the Hungarian psychiatric art collection. So I hope we will see you all next week at same time. And thank you again, Viktória and Rita, and goodbye.
And maybe
yes,
can you send us also an invitation, because I would be very interested.
Yeah, sure. I will send you by email. Shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you. Goodbye.
It was an honor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.